Kellen's ship shook violently as it broke through the clouds of an unknown planet. The alarm screamed in his ears, warning him of multiple failures: engine offline, navigation lost, and life support running low. He clutched the controls tightly, trying to steer the small scout vessel, but it was no use. The cold outside had already frozen several external systems. "This isn't happening," Kellen muttered, watching the frost creep across the windows. The ship hit the icy ground with a loud crash, sliding across the snow before finally coming to a stop against a frozen hill. Kellen blacked out for a few seconds. When he opened his eyes, everything was quiet. Too quiet. He grabbed his emergency bag and forced open the hatch. The cold hit him like a wall. His breath turned to fog immediately. Snowflakes floated down slowly from the gray sky above. He stepped out, wearing only a torn thermal suit that barely worked. The planet's wind was sharp and dry, cutting through him like thin blades. "Okay. First, shelter," he told himself. He found some of the ship's wreckage and tried building a small wall to block the wind. It wasn't much, but it was better than nothing. He sat down behind it, curled up, and tried to stay warm. But the cold was too strong. He started to shiver badly. His hands were turning red, and he could feel his fingers growing numb. His face stung from the freezing wind. Time passed slowly. Minutes felt like hours. He tried to move his body, tried to stay awake, but his eyelids were getting heavy. "I can't. Fall asleep," he whispered. But his body wasn't listening. Just as his eyes began to close, he heard soft footsteps crunching in the snow. At first, he thought it was his imagination. Then, a shadow moved near him. He opened his eyes, barely able to lift his head. That's when he saw her. A woman. No, an alien woman was standing in the snow just a few feet away. She was tall, slim, with smooth pale blue skin that shimmered slightly under the cloudy sky. Her long silver-white hair flowed gently in the wind, and her eyes glowed softly with a calm light. But what surprised him the most was that she wasn't wearing any clothes. Kellen blinked. Was this real? Was he hallucinating? The woman stepped closer. She looked completely comfortable in the freezing weather, as if it didn't bother her at all. She knelt down beside him and reached out a hand. Her touch was warm. Not just warm, hot, like a heater. Kellen flinched at first, but then leaned toward it without thinking. "You are freezing," she said in a soft, smooth voice. "Your body is failing." Kellen's lips trembled. "Who are you?" "My name is Scifi," she said. "You are not from this world." He nodded weakly. "Crashed. Ship. Gone." Scifi gently helped him sit up. Her warmth was incredible. It was as if her body produced heat like a living fire. She wrapped her arms around him and pulled him close. Kellen was stunned. "Why are you helping me?" "No clothes," she said with a calm smile. "No problem. I'll keep you warm." He didn't know how to respond. It was such a strange offer, yet in this moment, it was the only thing keeping him alive. He wanted to ask her how she could survive like this in the cold, or why she wasn't frozen like him, but the warmth from her body was slowly waking up his senses. She stood up and helped him to his feet. Her touch gave him strength. "Come," she said. "You cannot stay here. This place will take your life if you sleep again." Kellen nodded. His legs were weak, but with her help, he could move. She guided him across the snowy field, heading toward a cluster of hills in the distance. As they walked, Kellen looked at her again. She moved with grace and ease, unaffected by the cold winds. Her skin gave off a soft heat that kept the area around her snow-free. She didn't shiver. She didn't slow down. "What are you?" he asked. "I am Thermary," she replied. "My people live with the cold. We are born with heat in our blood." Kellen didn't understand it all, but he was too tired to ask more. All he knew was this strange, warm alien woman had saved his life. and he had no idea why. But for now, he followed her into the frost-covered unknown, held close by the warmth of someone who didn't need clothes and didn't seem to mind helping a freezing human in need. Kellen followed Sira through the snowy landscape, her hand firmly holding his. The cold wind still blew across the open plains, but her touch was like a shield around him. Wherever she walked, the snow melted lightly beneath her feet. It was as if her body gave off heat like a small sun. They reached a steep hill where a crack in the ice led into a hidden cave. Inside, the air was warmer. Strange glowing crystals lined the walls, casting soft green and blue light. Kellen let out a shaky breath and leaned against the rock. "You'll be safe here," Sira said. "This place holds the warmth of the earth." He sat down on a flat rock and rubbed his hands together, still trying to believe what had just happened. You saved me." Sira nodded. "You were freezing. If I hadn't found you, you would not have survived." Kellen looked at her, confused. "But how? You're not wearing anything. How are you not cold?" She smiled gently. "My kind do not need clothes for warmth. Our bodies generate heat from within. It is part of who we are." Kellen blinked. "You mean your body works like a heater?" "In a way, yes," she replied. "We are the Thermary. Our people live in the coldest places. We have learned to keep others warm, even when the world around us is frozen." Kellen was silent. He had never heard of the Thermary before. He had studied many alien species during his training as a scout, but none like this. He looked around the cave, taking in the glowing crystals and smooth walls. It felt like a different world. "Do others live here too?" he asked. Sira nodded. "Yes. My village is close, hidden beneath the ice. We live deep underground where the warmth flows. I found you while I was gathering crystals near the surface." "You weren't afraid of me?" he asked. "No," she said simply. "You were alone, in danger. You needed help." Kellen lowered his head. "Thank you. I didn't expect kindness from a stranger, let alone an alien." Sira sat down beside him. Her presence made the air warmer, and slowly he stopped shivering. "It is our way," she said. "Long ago, we learned that warmth is not just for ourselves. It must be shared." He looked at her, curious. "Even with someone you don't know?" "Yes," she said. "Even then." A quiet moment passed between them. Kellen still had questions, but his body needed rest. Sira noticed his tired eyes. "You should sleep," she said. "This cave is safe." Kellen hesitated. "What about you?" "I'll stay here," she said. "You're still recovering. I'll keep you warm." Kellen gave a small smile. "I guess I can't say no to that." He lay down on the soft ground, using his bag as a pillow. Sira moved closer, letting her heat surround him like a gentle blanket. The strange part was, it wasn't uncomfortable. Her warmth didn't burn. It felt natural, soothing. Slowly, his eyelids grew heavy. Before drifting off, he asked softly, "Do you always help travelers like this?" Sira replied with a calm voice, "Not all of them. Only those who truly need it." Kellen woke some hours later. The cave was still quiet. Sira was sitting near the entrance, watching the snowfall outside. Her body glowed faintly in the dim light of the crystals. He sat up and stretched. His muscles were sore, but he no longer felt frozen. "Morning already." Sira turned and smiled. "You slept well." "Thanks to you," he replied. "I feel alive again." She stood and walked over to him. "You'll need more than just one night to heal, but your strength is returning. That is good." Kellen nodded. "I need to fix my ship, maybe send a signal. My people might be looking for me." Sira looked serious. "We can return to the crash site later, but for now, you must rest more. My people can help, but they are careful with outsiders." Kellen raised an eyebrow. "They won't like that I'm here." "Some may not," she said, We have had trouble before with off-worlders, but I will speak for you." He smiled a little. "You're braver than I thought." Sira tilted her head. "You are the first human I've ever met, but you're not what I expected either." "Oh," he asked, "what did you expect?" "Someone colder," she replied, eyes calm, not just in body, but in heart. Kellen laughed lightly. "I guess I'm full of surprises." Sira didn't laugh, but her soft smile grew wider. "Yes, I think you are." The next day, Sira led Kellen through a narrow tunnel hidden behind the cave wall. The path sloped downward into the earth, and the deeper they went, the warmer it became. Strange glowing plants lined the sides of the tunnel, lighting the way with a soft blue shine. Kellen followed closely. His thermal suit was still damaged, but he no longer felt the bitter cold, thanks to the warmth flowing through the underground passage, and to Sira walking beside him. "Are you sure your people won't be upset I'm here?" Kellen asked as they walked. Sira looked ahead. "Some may question it, but they will listen to me. You are not a threat. You needed help." Kellen sighed. "I just don't want to cause trouble." "You didn't cause trouble," Sira replied gently. "You are only trying to survive." As they moved deeper, the tunnel opened into a large underground chamber. Kellen stopped and stared. It was unlike anything he had ever seen. The Thermary village was built inside a vast hollow beneath the ice. Homes shaped like round shells rose from the ground, glowing softly with inner warmth. Steam drifted upward from vents in the floor, and colorful lights floated through the air like tiny stars. The walls of the chamber sparkled with ice crystals that reflected the glow of the village. Kellen whispered, "This is amazing." Sira smiled proudly. "This is my home." As they stepped into the village, several Thermary turned to look. They were tall like Sira, with smooth, pale blue skin and calm, glowing eyes. Their bodies gave off gentle heat, and none of them wore clothes like humans did. It was clear they didn't need them. Kellen felt many eyes on him. He stood up straight and tried to look respectful, even though he felt out of place. A male Thermary approached. He had silver markings on his arms and a sharp look in his eyes. "Sira," he said calmly, "you brought an outsider." "Yes, Euron," she replied. He crashed on the surface. He would have died without help. Euron looked Kellen up and down. "And why is he here now?" "He needs shelter while he recovers," Sira explained. "His ship is damaged. He means no harm." Euron folded his arms. "You've always been kind, Sira, but kindness to strangers has a cost. We remember the last time outsiders came." "This one is different," she said firmly. "I will speak for him." Euron narrowed his eyes but said nothing more. He turned and walked away. Kellen exhaled. That went well. Sira gave a soft laugh. That was better than I expected. She led him through the village, past warm pools and glowing stones. Some villagers stared, others whispered, but none stopped them. Sira brought him to a small round shelter near a steam vent. The inside was warm and quiet, with soft bedding made from thick plant fibers. "You can rest here," she said. "I will bring food soon." Kellen sat down and looked around. "This is better than any camp I've ever been in." "You are safe here," Sira said kindly. "But you must be careful. Not everyone trusts easily." "I understand," Kellen nodded. "I'll stay out of trouble." She smiled. "Good." A little while later, Sira returned with food. Small glowing fruits and a warm broth that smelled like spices. Kellen ate slowly, surprised by the taste. It was strange but pleasant. "This is good," he said. "Your people really live well down here." "We have learned from the cold," Sira replied. "We use the warmth within the earth and ourselves. That is our way." Kellen looked thoughtful. "I've traveled to many places, seen many species, but I've never met anyone like you." Sira tilted her head. "What do you mean?" "You helped me without asking for anything. You brought me to your home. even though it was risky. Why? She looked into his eyes. Because warmth must be shared. If we only protect ourselves, we forget what it means to be alive. Kellen didn't know what to say. He just nodded, feeling something he hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. That night, as he lay in the warm shelter, he listened to the quiet hum of the village and the soft flow of steam from the earth below. It was hard to believe that just a day ago, he was freezing to death in a snowstorm. Now he was alive, safe in a hidden world beneath the ice, watched over by a mysterious woman with a warm heart and even warmer hands. But he also knew things wouldn't stay quiet forever. He still had a broken ship. He still had no way to contact his crew. And not everyone in the village trusted him. Still, for the first time in a long while, Kellen closed his eyes and smiled. Tomorrow could bring anything. But tonight, he was warm. The next morning, Kellen woke up to the sound of distant voices and soft footsteps. The warmth of the shelter still surrounded him, and he was grateful for it. His body had recovered enough to feel less weak, but he still couldn't shake the feeling that he was a guest in someone else's world, someone's home that he didn't belong to. He sat up and stretched, feeling the warmth from the steam vent beneath him. Sira had told him last night that the village's heat came from geothermal energy deep in the earth. Kellen wondered just how far this underground community stretched. He had never seen anything like it. As he rubbed his eyes, the door to the shelter slid open, and Sira stepped inside, her silver-white hair flowing gracefully around her shoulders. Her pale blue skin seemed to glow softly, even in the dim light of the morning. "You're up early," she said with a smile. "I hope you slept well." "I did," Kellen replied, standing up. "It's hard not to sleep well in a place this warm." Sira nodded. "It is one of the gifts of the Thermary, warmth in a cold world." Kellen chuckled. "Well, you definitely gave me warmth when I needed it. I won't forget that." Sira's smile softened. "You're welcome." Before Kellen could respond, there was a knock at the door, and a young Thermary woman stepped inside. She had dark blue markings on her arms and a curious look in her eyes. "Sira, the council requests your presence," the woman said, her voice calm but firm. "They wish to discuss the human." Kellen tensed, his thoughts turning to the worries he had been trying to push aside. He had known that not everyone would be happy about him staying in the village. The other Thermary seemed distant, even wary of his presence. Sira glanced at Kellen before turning back to the woman. "I will come." The young woman nodded and left, leaving Kellen and Sira alone again. "Don't worry," Sira said softly, noticing the concerned look on Kellen's face. "They simply want to discuss your presence here. The council does not mean harm." Kellen nodded, trying to calm the rising tension inside him. "I just don't want to be a burden." Sira's expression turned serious. "You are not a burden, Kellen. You are a guest, and guests are to be respected." He smiled at her reassurance. "Thanks." Sira led him out of the shelter and into the heart of the village. The path was lined with soft, glowing lights that flickered like tiny stars. As they walked, Kellen could feel the eyes of the other villagers on him. Some glanced away quickly, others stared openly, but no one spoke to him. Eventually, they reached a large circular chamber, the meeting place of the village's council. It was warm inside, filled with natural light that came from the glowing crystals embedded in the walls. Several Thermary were gathered around a table, discussing something in low voices. Sira stepped forward and spoke to the group, her voice calm but commanding. "I bring the human, Kellen. He has no ill intentions." The council looked at Kellen with a mix of curiosity and suspicion. One of the older Thermary, a male with silver hair and sharp eyes, spoke. "You bring an outsider into our village, Sira," he said, his tone even but stern. "This is not without risk. Do you understand the consequences?" Sira stood tall. "Yes, I understand." But Kellen was in danger. He is not like the others who have come before. He needs our help. The older Thermary looked at Kellen, his eyes piercing. And why should we help him? I am not here to take anything from you, Kellen said, trying to sound as calm as he could. I only want to repair my ship and leave. I don't want trouble. There was a long silence. Kellen held his breath, waiting for their decision. Finally, the older Thermary nodded. Very well. You will stay for now, but you must prove that you will not disrupt our peace. We will allow you to repair your ship, but we are watching. Kellen let out a breath of relief. Thank you. I won't let you down. Sira turned to Kellen after the meeting. You are allowed to stay for now, but you must work with the village to fix your ship. They are not convinced that you mean no harm. Kellen smiled. I can live with that. I'll do whatever it takes to earn their trust. Sira's gaze softened. You will have to prove that you are different from the others. They will not trust easily. Kellen nodded. I understand. I'll show them. As Sira led him back to the shelter, Kellen thought about what the council had said. He had been given a second chance, but it wasn't going to be easy. He had to earn the Thermary's trust, and that would take time. But for now, he was safe. He was alive. And as he looked at Sira walking beside him, he realized that he didn't just owe his survival to her warmth. He owed it to her kindness, her willingness to help without expecting anything in return. The least he could do was prove that he was worthy of that trust. The days passed in a quiet routine. Kellen spent most of his time working with the Thermary, trying to repair his ship and adjust to their strange but welcoming way of life. The villagers were still distant, but Sira's words kept him from feeling truly alone. She was always there, watching over him, guiding him through each task. Kellen found himself enjoying the simplicity of life underground. The constant warmth of the village, the soft glow of the crystals, and the peace of the hidden world below the ice made him forget the danger he had been in just days ago. But life on this cold planet was never without its dangers. One afternoon, as Kellen was working near the surface with a few Thermary, the ground suddenly shook beneath their feet. The soft, steady hum of the village stopped, replaced by an eerie silence. What's happening? Kellen asked, his voice tense. He looked around, seeing the other Thermary looking up at the sky with alarm. Sira appeared beside him. It is the glassworm, she said, her face hardening. It's awake. The glassworm. Kellen repeated, his mind racing. What's that? A creature from the deep ice. Sira explained quickly. It has slept for centuries, buried in the glaciers. But when the heat from your ship reached the surface, it disturbed its slumber. Kellen's heart sank. So, it's been awakened because of me. Sira nodded. Not just because of you. It was already restless. The warmth from your crash only pushed it to rise. The ground trembled again, this time more violently. A loud roar echoed in the distance, and Kellen felt the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. That's the glassworm, Sira said, her voice tight. It is massive, and it will destroy anything in its path. We must stop it before it reaches the village. Kellen didn't hesitate. What can I do to help? You've done enough, Sira replied, her eyes softening for a moment. But if you want to help, we'll need to work together. Without waiting for a response, Sira turned and began running toward the village's heart. Kellen followed, unsure of what he was getting himself into but knowing that there was no other choice. As they arrived at the village's central chamber, the Thermary were already preparing. They gathered weapons and tools, their calm faces showing determination but not fear. Kellen could see that they had faced threats before. We have to lure it away from the village, Sira said. We cannot kill it, but we can force it back into the ice. Kellen nodded. I can help with that. I've got some explosives in my ship. Sira shook her head. That will not be enough. We need to use the heat. The glassworm is drawn to warmth. Kellen's eyes widened as he realized what she meant. You want me to help? With the heat? Yes, Sira said. Your ship's reactor. The heat it releases can lure the creature, but we must be careful. We will need to move quickly. The group moved toward the surface, where the snow and ice had begun to crack and shift. The air was thick with tension, the cold wind biting at their skin. Kellen followed Sarah and the others to a small plateau, where he could see the glassworm in the distance. The beast was enormous, its scales glittering like ice shards, its body coiled and massive, and its eyes glowing with an eerie yellow light. It was heading straight for the village, and it was moving faster than Kellen expected. He could feel its presence in his bones, a primal fear that made his heart race. "We have to act now," Sarah shouted. Kellen nodded, his mind already racing. "I'll set up the heat trap. Just keep it busy for a few minutes." Without waiting for confirmation, he ran toward the wreckage of his ship. The glassworm's roars grew louder as it neared, shaking the ground beneath his feet. Kellen worked quickly, using his ship's reactor to generate a strong heat signal. He connected the wires, set the explosion charges, and then moved to a safe distance. The Thermary, armed with energy weapons, stood ready. Sarah gave Kellen a quick glance and then shouted, "Now." With a deep breath, Kellen activated the heat signal. The glassworm turned, its massive body swiveling toward the source of warmth. It began to charge, roaring louder than ever. The Thermary fired their energy weapons, creating a wall of light between the creature and the village. Kellen's heart pounded as he watched the beast rush toward the heat signal, its massive claws tearing through the ice and snow. "Move! Move!" Sarah yelled as the glassworm got closer. Kellen ran alongside her, heart pounding, as the creature charged toward them. Just as it reached the heat source, Kellen triggered the explosive charges. A blinding flash of light erupted from the ship, and the ground shook violently. The glassworm let out a final roar before it fell back into the deep ice, disappearing from sight. Silence settled over the group. Kellen stood, panting, his heart still racing. "We did it," Sarah said quietly, her voice filled with relief. "The glassworm is gone." Kellen looked at her, breathing heavily. "I didn't expect my ship to be used that way." Sarah smiled softly. "Neither did I. But you have saved us, Kellen." He nodded, feeling a sense of accomplishment. The village was safe for now. But deep down, Kellen knew that the Thermary had not yet fully trusted him. The following days in the village were filled with a quiet sense of relief. The glassworm, the creature that had terrorized their world, was gone. Kellen had helped the Thermary push it back into the deep ice, and with it, a sense of safety returned to the village. But even in peace, there was something different about the air now. Something that made Kellen feel like he had earned his place among them. He had learned more about the Thermary during these days. Their culture was built around warmth, not just in the physical sense, but also emotionally. They shared everything, from food to knowledge, with each other. Kellen admired how they lived together, working as one unit to survive in such a harsh environment. It was a stark contrast to his own world, where competition and individualism were often valued above all else. One morning, Kellen stood on the edge of the village, looking out over the snowy plains. The sky was a pale blue, with a soft glow coming from the rising sun. The stillness of the scene was calming, but Kellen couldn't shake the thought that he was living on borrowed time. His ship was still broken, and while he had been allowed to stay and help, he knew that eventually he would have to leave. The thought of leaving Sarah and the village behind made his chest tighten, but he didn't know how to explain it. He wasn't sure if he even understood it himself. "You're thinking again." Sarah's voice came from behind him. Kellen turned to see her approaching, a soft smile on her face. "Just looking out at the horizon," he said, trying to sound casual. "I've been thinking about my ship. I still need to fix it. I can't stay here forever." Sarah stepped up beside him and gazed out over the snow, her presence warm and steady. "You are not the first outsider to come here," she said quietly. "But you are the first who has helped us when we needed it." Kellen didn't know what to say to that. He hadn't done it for praise. He had just done what needed to be done. But it felt different now, like his presence here meant something more. "I still need to fix it, though," Kellen repeated, his voice more determined this time. Sira nodded. I understand. But perhaps you can stay a little longer. We can help you. Kellen turned to her, meeting her gaze. There was a softness in her eyes that he hadn't seen before, rare, a trust that he felt honored to see. I don't want to take advantage of your kindness. I don't even know if I'm really needed here. Sira smiled. You are more needed than you think. And not just for fixing ships. Kellen raised an eyebrow, intrigued. What do you mean? Sira's smile widened. Your presence here has brought something we needed. A reminder of how we can connect. Not just through warmth, but through trust. Kellen's heart skipped a beat. He hadn't realized it, but Sira's words made sense. He had become a part of their world, a part of their community, even though he hadn't asked for it. I guess I'm not the only one learning, Kellen said, his voice low. Learning is the way of life, Sira replied. And you've taught us something we had forgotten. Even in a cold world, we can warm each other. The conversation left Kellen thinking deeply. It wasn't just about fixing his ship anymore. It wasn't even about leaving. It was about something bigger, about connecting with others, about learning from them, and offering what he could in return. Later that day, Sira took Kellen to a nearby geothermal spring. The water bubbled gently, sending warm steam into the cold air. It was a place of peace for the Thermari, a place where they could relax and bond with each other. Sira led Kellen to the edge of the spring, where he could see the village in the distance, its soft glow still visible even from this far away. This is where we gather, Sira explained. It's a place of rest, but also of reflection. We come here when we need to remember what's important. Kellen looked down at the clear water, watching as the steam rose in soft tendrils. I can see why you like it here. It's peaceful. Sira nodded. It reminds us of the balance we must keep. The balance between warmth and cold, between giving and taking. Kellen thought for a moment. And what happens when that balance is broken? Sira's smile faded slightly. It is a challenge we face often. Life here is not easy. But we survive because we remember that warmth must be shared. Kellen understood. He had felt it too. The warmth they had shown him, the kindness and trust, had been more than just a physical thing. It was something that had healed him, something that had helped him become a part of something bigger than himself. As the day turned into night, Kellen found himself sitting by the edge of the spring, his thoughts quieter than they had been in days. Sira sat beside him, her presence calm and steady. You've helped me more than I can say, Kellen said softly, his voice filled with gratitude. I came here thinking I was just passing through. Now I don't know what to think. Sira turned to him, her eyes full of understanding. You came here for help, but sometimes the help we find isn't just what we expected. Kellen smiled, feeling a warmth that had nothing to do with the steam rising from the spring. The days that followed were quieter, yet something in the air had changed. The glassworm was no longer a threat, and Kellen's ship had been repaired enough to send a distress signal. His crew had been contacted, and a rescue ship was on its way. Yet, as the days passed, Kellen found himself torn. The thought of leaving the village in Sira behind made his heart ache. He had come to this frozen world to complete a mission, but now, the mission seemed less important than the connections he had made. The people of the village had accepted him in a way he hadn't expected. And more than that, Sira had shown him a side of life he had never fully understood, a life based on warmth, not just in the physical sense, but in how they treated each other. Kellen found himself walking through the village with new eyes. He no longer felt like an outsider. He was a part of something here, a part of the warmth the Thermari shared. But there was still one thing left to settle: his departure. The rescue ship was due to arrive within a few days, and Kellen knew he had to make a decision. It was late in the evening when Kellen went to the geothermal spring once more. He needed to think, needed to clear his head. Sira had promised to meet him there, and as he reached the edge of the spring, He saw her silhouette in the soft glow of the water. "You've come," she said, her voice as warm as always. She was sitting by the spring, her legs folded beneath her, gazing into the water. "I need to talk," Kellen said, his voice quieter than usual. Scyra looked up at him, her eyes soft and knowing. "About the ship." Kellen nodded, sitting down beside her. "I've been thinking a lot about it. My crew will be here soon. I can go back to my life, to my world. But I don't know if I want to." Scyra tilted her head, her eyes filled with curiosity. "What do you want, Kellen?" He paused, searching for the right words. "I don't know. I didn't expect this place to mean so much to me. I didn't expect you, or the village. It feels like I found something here that I didn't even know I was missing." Scyra reached out and placed a hand on his arm, her touch warm and comforting. "Sometimes we find things in unexpected places, things we didn't know we needed." Kellen looked at her, feeling a warmth spread through his chest. "I've never felt like this before. Like I belong." "You do belong," Scyra said softly. "But you must decide where that belonging lies. With us, or with your own world." Kellen felt a lump form in his throat. "I don't know what to do. My life on Earth, it's what I know. But this is different. This warmth, this kindness, I've never had that before." Scyra's expression softened. "The warmth of our world is not something that can be taken for granted. But if you choose to stay, you will be part of it. If you choose to go, you will carry this warmth with you." Kellen looked out at the shimmering water, the steam rising in the cold night air. He thought about the life he had left behind, the cold, the loneliness, the mission. And then he thought about Scyra, the warmth she had shown him, and the life he had found here. "You're asking me to make a choice," Kellen said slowly. "But it's not just about staying here. It's about how I live, who I am. I don't want to leave this behind, but I don't know how to fit it into my old life." Scyra smiled, a gentle, knowing smile. Life is not always about fitting in. Sometimes it's about finding the place where you can grow. Kellen turned to her, his heart racing. He had never been good at making decisions, but this time he knew what he had to do. He didn't want to leave this behind. He didn't want to leave Scyra behind. "I think I've made my decision," he said, his voice steady now. "I don't want to go back. I want to stay here. I want to be part of this world." Scyra's smile widened, and her eyes sparkled with warmth. "Then you are home, Kellen. You are home." Kellen felt a deep sense of relief wash over him. For the first time in a long time, he felt sure about something. The warmth he had found here, with the Thermary and with Scyra, was something he didn't want to lose. It was a warmth that wasn't just about heat. It was about connection, about trust, and about living with others in harmony. Scyra stood up, extending her hand to him. "Come, the village is waiting for you." Kellen took her hand, feeling the warmth spread through him again. He had found his place, and for once, it wasn't somewhere he had planned to be. It was a place where he was needed, a place where he was wanted. As they walked back toward the village, Kellen realized that the future wasn't something to fear. It was something to shape, something to create together. And in that moment, he knew he had found his new beginning, not in the cold, distant stars, but in the warmth of the Thermary village, with Scyra by his side.